Now we're live. So we are. It looks like we're live. So I'm gonna pull up YouTube as well. But yeah, welcome everyone. If you are watching live right now, if you are watching the replay, say hey. I always love seeing who's here. Um, Dropping everything into the chat. Um, okay, let me see if I can pull this up without us being. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Sweet. Well, yeah. Drop any questions that you have. We're going to be talking about like content creation and like planning for your content instead of just throwing it out there whenever you think about it. So I'm excited about this. This is still something that I struggle with sometimes. Every now and then, I'm like in a good headspace, and I'm like, oh yeah, I need a plan, and then I do, and then other times I just am like, oh, it's 8 o'clock. I should post something today. So I'm excited to talk about this, but yeah, Eden, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here, and really looking forward to this topic today.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, I I want to do a little like kind of, I don't know, get to know you kind of thing. Could you give us a little background about like where you are, what you love doing, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I am located in Denver, Colorado. It's finally starting to feel like fall outside, so loving that.
That sounds amazing. It is not here in Texas. It's finally under 90 degrees today. So
That's an
there's that.
accomplishment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love Denver. I was up there a couple years ago in September, and it was gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah. All the leaves are changing. It's so pretty outside. The
Yeah.
highs are in like the 70s, so we're feeling good over here.
That sounds good. Are you like Denver proper? Or are you like in the mountains or where?
I'm in a suburb close to like the foothills of the mountains.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah.
Nice. Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started my business in 2020 because I was bored, as I'm sure a lot of people can relate to.
Yep. A lot of businesses starting up.
Yep. I started as just kind of like a general VA because I have a marketing background and I just wasn't sure what I wanted to offer, just kind of dipping my toes into entrepreneurship. So I did that for a couple years. And then actually, just this year, I rebranded to niche down to only offer blog writing and SEO because I saw that a lot of people struggle with that. And that was something that I enjoyed and I'm good at. So I was like, I'm just going to do that. I don't like doing all the other stuff I was offering. So I just niched down to that and I've been loving it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that you niche down. You were like, okay, these are the things I'm not loving this. I don't want to keep getting hired for this because I feel like it my photography business completely changed once I niched down and wasn't just taking anything and everything or offering anything and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm not really enjoying this, and I'm sure like the end product is not as good as it could be if someone like hired someone to take their newborn photos. That I'm just like, yeah, sure. I have an opening. I'll do it. But yeah, no, I love that you are just like really into blog writing and all that. I know 100%. Most everyone that I talk to, a lot of creatives are just like, I hate writing blogs. I can never think about what to write. I can never like put what's up here like in my mind onto the pages and make it look good and readable and hitting those keywords and all of that. So that's amazing that you're just like, yeah, love it, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Like blog writing is a lot more time consuming than some other content creation, like social
Yeah.
media. If you, I know we're talking about planning today, but you really could create a social post in, 5-10 minutes, but a blog takes quite a bit longer to research and publish and write and the whole thing. So I
Yeah.
get that it kind of is a scary endeavor to commit to a blog.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like I don't know, for me, if I set a like I'm going to write a blog every single week, and then I get like the first 2 weeks down, but then I skip the third week, And then the fourth week comes around. I'm like, well, I'm not on that once a week routine anymore. I was going to push this off until
Yeah.
the next week or until I feel like it. And then it's like 3 months and I haven't written anything. I'm like, okay. I feel like that is uh, how a lot of people are, where it's just
Yeah.
like, if you're not sticking to whatever um, frequency it seems like you're supposed to, then it's just, well, what's the point? I have a couple things up there that I can point people toward. I don't need to keep it up to date because I just can't do that once a week or once every 2 weeks or anything. Do you see, or do you recommend anything for frequency of how often you blog, or is that just kind of like different for different industries and all that?
Yeah. Um, I always recommend to whatever frequency you can actually commit to, because consistency, it really is the most important thing. So if it can
Mm.
only be once a month, but you can commit to it and you can do it once a month, like that's great. Do that. Obviously, the more content that you put out, the more chances you have to rank on search engines. So really, like, the best thing you could do is once a week. But if that feels overwhelming, like I said, like, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. It's really just whatever you can commit to.
Yeah. No, I like that. And yeah, like I feel like, once you're, even if you start off at once a month and then you kind of get into that habit of blog writing, it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing now. I can bump it up to every other week, or I can bump it up
Totally.
to once a week. Uh, so yeah, I definitely need to get back into it. I I I said like that is how I am. Where if I miss a certain frequency deadline, then it just kind of like falls away. And that's what happened over the summer, where I missed it, and then I was like, okay, I will pick this up some other time. So that time is now. I will be working on that. But yeah, like over your career of, like, blog writing and doing all that, has there been some sort of like a lesson or just a piece of advice that you've received that just changed the way that you look at business or life?
Yeah. Um, I feel like myself, I've been moving like kind of slow in my business because right now it's still, I still have a day job on top of it. So I feel like I'm like moving slow. But what I have to keep reminding myself is that I'm living a life that someone else is dreaming about right now.
Mm,
And we constantly compare ourselves to people, like professionally and personally, like they're married with kids and I'm still dating, or they're making $1 million in their business and mine is still just a side hustle. But it's important to remember that other people look up to us, and so we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves for not being where we want to be. That's something I just have to keep reminding myself when I just feel like I'm behind, even though I'm right where I should be.
yeah, that perspective change, it gives you so much freedom and just like lifts the heaviness off of you. Because yeah, I still find myself doing that every now and then, like seeing other people and I'm just like, oh man, they've like, skyrocketed so quickly, or they're able to, reach this many people, and like that's a goal of mine and I wish I could be there. And then I have to think about like, oh yeah, well, what about me 5 years ago? And like 5 years ago, John, looking at me now, like that was a goal. And just like seeing where I am now, it's like, oh yeah, that is, I am further ahead than I used to be. And in 5 years, I'll be further ahead than I am right now. And it's, we all have our different paces, and, different races. So like we're all moving at different speeds. And some people, I know it's, that it hit me like a few years ago because there was like this 19-year-old photographer who just like took over the space and just like was everywhere and on all the podcasts and like 100,000 Instagram followers. And I was like, that's crazy. They've been photographing for 3 years and I've been doing this for like a decade. And like it's a completely different different way. Like they had a ton of time to go like fly places and network and market, and I was at that time our third child was born, and we had a newborn baby, and like that took a lot of my time. And like specifically I had pointed that and like built this business so that I could be at home. And like that perspective, uh, having a good perspective of things really changes your attitude toward things. So I love that. Um, with with content creation and planning and all of that, what is the benefit of planning out our content instead of just doing it, posting whenever it works?
Your sanity, first of all. I'm like such a planner, so it drives me crazy when I leave things for the last minute because it just stresses me out even more.
Yeah.
So your sanity, that's a good one. But also you can actually be strategic with your content. So if you are actually looking at it from a month point of view or a quarter point of view versus just one day, you can actually like plan out what you want to talk about that can align to some of your other campaigns. Like you can align your social media posts with your blogs and your emails and a new freebie that you have coming out or a new offer. And it's not just like throwing out whatever comes to your mind. Um, so you're being strategic and you are just making sure everything aligns together. And then the other thing is that it actually saves you time to plan your content. I know it seems like I can't make time to plan content at all, but how much time do you spend racking your brain for something to post on social media one day? Like, 20 minutes, 30
Hmm.
minutes. In that time, you could have made probably three, four posts and planned it out. And so I think it saves time and it just like makes me feel a lot more organized in my business.
Yeah. Yeah. How so how do you get started with that? Like what's the first step? Cuz I'm like I'm feeling like the listener who's like, yeah, it does take me 20 minutes to like figure out what caption I want to put with this photo, or creating whatever reel, or figuring out what blog post topic I want to put out there. It takes a lot of time. How do you do that all at one time to like schedule out multiple posts? What's like the first step going into that?
I think the first step, something that's really helped me in the last couple months, is I've started to implement CEO days. So, blocking off an entire day on your calendar just to work on your business. And I know sometimes
Mm,
that feels impossible. Trust me, like it took me some getting used to. And sometimes my CEO days don't work out how I want them to. But if you at least block it off in your calendar so you don't have any meetings, it puts you in the mindset of I need to get my client work done before my CEO day so I can work on my business. So you're being a little bit more productive with your client work. And then you have an entire day to work on your business. So you can batch blog posts, you can batch social media, you can do emails, you can catch up on your finances, you can improve your systems or processes. But just having a day to work on your business, because I think I get in this habit sometimes of pushing my business off to the side because I'm so busy with client work.
mm,
But if you don't take care of the health of your business, you're just going to feel burnt out someday, or you're not going to get the clients that you want to get because you're not putting in the effort for your own business that's attracting the people you want to work with, which is how you make money. So
right.
it's a
Right.
vicious cycle. um,
Yeah.
so the CEO days have really helped me. And then along those same lines is batching your content so it doesn't feel like you're constantly creating content. You're just doing it once a week or every other week or once a month, whatever your frequency is. So that's really helped me get in that creative mindset too. So I'm not constantly having to be creative, but I can focus on one day of creativity.
Yeah. Yeah, and that like it helps cuz whenever you're in like in the zone of creativity, like you don't have to switch gears and be like, okay, now I need to answer some emails, or now
Yeah.
I need to, make sure that these invoices are going out, or, whatever, editing photos. It's just like you're in the creativity, like brainstorming mode of, okay, this would be great to post then because this will point toward this freebie, or I have, like fall mini sessions coming up, or I need to start talking about that before my launch of those in a couple months. And yeah, that kind of, that CEO, well, one, uh, batch creativity is amazing. My brain is all over the place, if you can't tell by by how I talk. But like it's so easy for me to be in the middle of something and then think about, oh yeah, I need to do this, and then it's on to the next thing. And working from home, being like primary parent and housekeeper, is also just like, I'll be in the middle of working and just like, oh wait, did I put the laundry in? I need to go do that right now. And then 30 minutes later, I'm making it back to my desk because I saw other things need to be done. And like having that focused time of, like, even setting timers of like, for 30 minutes, I'm going to be writing down things, writing down blog ideas, writing down, what photos I want to put on social media and caption ideas and stuff like that. Really helps. And I do want to touch on the CEO days that you talked about. Those are crucial. If you are not doing those, schedule those, like block it out on your calendar where you're going to be working on your business, because that is the best way to move your business forward and to grow and to keep that momentum going. Because if you don't do that and you are just working like on the client based stuff, on like working in your business instead of on your business, the back end gears kind of slow down, and then you start seeing those leads trickle and then stop because you're not moving those gears as you've changed your focus to just the client work.
Yeah.
So
And I
thanks for
want to
bringing that up.
Yeah. I just implemented it in, I think it was May or June of this year, and I do it every other Friday. That works for my schedule. Um and it's been I make it so fun. Like I get a Starbucks coffee and I sit down at my desk. Sometimes I'll go
Nice.
to the library to work, just like get a change of scenery. So you can make it fun, and even if you're like stressed about working on your own business, but I think it's fun.
Yeah.
But I did want to touch on one of your points of like writing down ideas for content.
Hmm.
That's something that I do is I jot down ideas as they come to me so that when I do have these CEO days, I have kind of like a backlog of ideas that I've thought of over the last couple weeks that I can either make something of or just forget about, but at least I have like a starting point, so I'm not just like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? So I can,
Yeah.
at least have some ideas to start off like the creativity part.
Yeah. No, that is really good, cuz I have ideas and I'm like, "Oh, this is perfect. I need to do this." And then whenever I have the space to actually work on it, I'm like, "What was that idea again? What
Yeah.
was what was I going to do? What was so great?" And yeah, do you have just like notes app on your phone or something that you jot those into, or how do you recommend just like keeping track of that kind of stuff?
Honestly, whatever works for you and wherever you'll remember to go back to it. um,
Yeah.
I have notes like all over the place, but for content specifically, I use Airtable. I have like different tabs for blogs, emails, and social media. So I can kind of like organize my ideas into the content type, the date that I want to publish it, and everything I have is in there as kind of a backlog so I can review what I've already done without scrolling back months on Instagram and
Hmm.
be able to create new things from my ideas that I have in there already.
Nice. Okay. That's fantastic. With scheduling and like doing this batch creation and everything and having like all of those together, are there certain scheduling apps that you recommend, or just like creating drafts or something like that that works pretty well for like a streamline of scheduling out things?
Yeah, I would say that if you're going to batch content, you might as well finish it because if you create a draft of a blog, what are the odds you're going to come back to it and publish it? Like I have clients who have drafts from years ago that they still haven't finished.
Yeah.
So I would just recommend batching the content, creating it, and then scheduling it out and just having it done. That's something that I do on my CEO days too. But I use Tailwind for Pinterest and Instagram batching. And then I schedule my blogs in WordPress for whenever I want them to go out. I post new blogs every Friday. So if I create 2 or 3 blogs, I'll just go ahead and schedule them out so I don't have to think about it for a couple weeks.
Nice. Yeah. No, that's a really good point because I have definitely made the drafts of like, oh, this is good. Like I've written all this out. I'll just, I'll collect some photos that would, be great to highlight in this blog post, and then it just sits in my drafts
Yeah.
for so long because I'm like, oh yeah, I need to actually spend the time and go find those photos. But like, yeah, just taking 5 minutes, finishing everything out, and then scheduling it because pretty much everything you can schedule. Like even like natively in an Instagram, TikTok,
Mhm.
all the even in Pinterest, if you're not going through something like Tailwind, which I highly recommend you should schedule through Tailwind instead of natively in Pinterest. But like everything has that option of like where you can go in there and then schedule for a certain date, and then it's there and it's going to get published and not just sit there as a draft. Because I have also had drafts in Instagram and then Instagram crashed and I had to log
Oh,
back in and then those were gone. Or even earlier this week, I had an entire post and wrote this big long thing. I don't know why I was writing like 5 paragraphs on Instagram, but I just felt like it that day. And then whenever I went to save it as a draft, I hit discard instead of
oh
save,
no.
and it just all went away. So yeah, having that, like, go ahead and schedule it. Don't just let it sit there because it will sit there for a lot longer than it needs to.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I kind of duplicate my efforts of like putting all of my content in Airtable and then scheduling it out. Is just
Yeah,
in case anything like that happens, or I want to, like I said before, like go back and see what I've already written about, what I've already done, so I don't duplicate too much of what I'm talking about. So I think that's, yeah, a good habit to get into of just having a backup copy somewhere that you can access, whether it's in, it could be in Google Docs if you want, but just somewhere just in case anything like that happens, because that is tragic when
yeah.
when you lose all this work you've done.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And like, we think about, especially like photographers. I'm a photographer. We think about backing up photos all the time.
Yeah.
Like I always tell my clients, like, I don't have your photos if I don't have it backed up in at least 3 different places. But we don't often think about that when it comes to creating content, especially if we're not scheduling things out, because creating content is very spur of the moment and it's very much like, well, let me see what photo I want to post, and then I don't know what caption do I want to put with this, and you're doing all the ideation like as you're posting, but scheduling it out, like that's a great piece of advice to have that backed up somewhere else where you could even, like you said, you can reference stuff that you've done in the past without having to scroll back months. You can be like, oh yeah, I did talk about this 6 months ago. I'm going to talk about it again. It has been
Yeah.
plenty of time to like recycle some older things, and you don't have to go back through and like rewrite out everything. You can take that piece and then you know uh, tweak it a little bit so it's a little different. But yeah, no, I really like that idea. I'm gonna start doing that. I hadn't thought of like backing up, even with that happening earlier this week where it deleted everything. My thought wasn't, oh, I should probably back up or like write my captions somewhere else and then copy them over. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. And what you talked about too with like reusing content, I love repurposing content. I do that all the
Yeah.
time. So that's something too my clients love with the blogs that I write. They'll take the blog and make like tons of social posts and some emails from it. So like I basically did all the work and they're just like copying and pasting the content that I gave them.
Yeah.
So it just makes everything so much easier, and you don't have to worry about like talking about something too often. I actually had a funny story come up recently. I was talking to a client because we're writing a case study for one of her blogs this month. And it was about how she offers Google business listing services where she plugs their website into a tool and it gives her all these different locations where their business is listed as like their
Mm.
website, their location, their hours, all of that information. And she's like, I feel like I talk about this all the time on social media, and I'm like, I literally didn't even know that you offer this. Like, and I write for you. So like you don't have to worry about talking about something too often. I think
Yeah.
the experts say like you have to talk about it 7 times for it to resonate with people in your marketing. So if you feel like you're talking about something all the time, like maybe spread it out a little bit, not like every day for a week, but you don't have to worry about reusing things.
Yeah. You might have like those three super fans that always like and read everything. And they're like, oh yeah, Eden talked about this like 2 months ago. But they're still gonna like it and they're still
Yeah.
going to read it. Or they might be like, oh yeah, I have heard this. That's cool. I'll share or whatever. But yeah, we are we are our biggest fans. We're the ones who read it over and over again. And I heard someone say this recently of like, if you feel like you are getting annoying in the amount of how much you're talking about this, keep talking about it. Like
Yeah.
talk about it a couple more times. Like once it feels like you are just like beating this thing and you're just like, okay, I have talked about this over and over again. I'm sure everyone is annoyed at this point. You're going to find other people that are just like, oh, I didn't even know you offered this. And yeah, because algorithms and just like people's attention span too. I see stuff in my inbox from email lists that I'm on, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that you offered that, or I didn't know. And then I like go through and it's like, this is your last chance. I'm like, oh, you've been talking about this? Okay, cool. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that whole like getting in front of people like with the amount of information that we have these days. Like I heard that like you have to get in front of someone 7 times is now like 20-25 times. You really have to like just keep putting it out there because eventually they will see it. They may only see it once out of the 7 times that you put it out there, and then
Yeah.
by a 20 they've seen it like 3 times and they're like, oh, I've seen this, I recognize this, and now I know this. I'm going to go ahead and move forward and purchase or sign up or whatever it is.
Yeah.
um, yeah. Okay, so with content creation, we talked about like batching, CEO days, working on scheduling, and just go ahead and schedule. Don't draft it, finish it out, schedule it. I love that. I'm gonna take that and just run with it. I need that in my life of just get it done and get it out there. What are some next steps that the listeners can do to kind of like move forward in this? Maybe schedule some days to have like that every other Friday having a CEO day or something. Maybe some baby steps into all of this.
Yeah, I think an easy first step is to look through the content that you already have and see what you can reuse, what you haven't talked about in a little bit,
Mm,
and see if there's any opportunities there to either expand on the topic or to talk about it in a different way or even just straight up reuse it if you haven't talked about it in a while. I think that's an easy way to get started with like getting in that creative mindset for content creation. So that's something that I like to do too is look through my blogs I wrote 6 to 8 months ago and be like, is there anything that I can talk about here that I don't really go into too much depth on? Or is there, did I get any questions about this on social media? You can see your top performing posts on social media and see if you can talk about that a little bit more. Either again in the same way or take a different spin on it, or if it was a carousel, maybe do a reel.
Mhm.
like something like that, just to like see what you already have. I think that's a good place to start rather than what do I talk about, because I've already talked about everything. So just kind of see if there's something that you already have.
Yeah, it really like narrows it down
Yeah.
from okay, I can talk about everything, and that is overwhelming. But like, see what has performed well in the past. Talk about that again. Um, you hit on something because I was going to ask about blog posts and like, can you reuse or like rewrite a blog post from the past? Like, if you wrote a blog that does pretty well, still gets some hits from like 5 years ago. Should you rewrite that now, or is it best to just kind of like leave that and maybe write like a sister post to it that's just like it's similar? Maybe you could even add a link to that blog to your new one, or from your new one pointing to the old one. Do you recommend rewriting old blogs to reuse that content?
Yeah, so actually both of those are really good strategies. So I'll touch on the first one
Okay.
of revisiting an old blog. Um, I recommend to update that blog if you notice it's doing really well. Just make constant updates to it because Google likes to see you putting out new, fresh content, and that includes updating old posts. So if someone lands on a post from 2018 and it's
Mhm.
referencing best practices from 2018, they're gonna be like, "Bye, that's not relevant anymore in 2024."
Yeah.
But if that post from 2018 is referencing things from 2024, you're like, "Oh, this is still irrelevant," but it has 6 years worth of credibility with Google. So update that post with, you can add new content, you can add new links to it, you can update the keyword, you can add new images, you can update the headlines. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to rewrite the post completely. Just make small tweaks and updates to it to keep it relevant and something that people still want to search for. And then the other thing that you hit on is creating a new blog and linking to that old blog. That's another great strategy, and that's something that I do when I'm trying to think of blog topics. Is I look through the old blogs and see, like, again, like, where did I not really expand on this, but it really could be its own post. And then you can create that post and create two links really back and forth to each other, which Google loves to see the internal linking because it's
Yeah.
saying, like, this post from 2018 is talking about this topic, and oh, here's a new blog about that topic. So it kind of just sees that connection and understands the topic a little bit better. So you
Yeah.
can do both.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. And yeah, I did not know the importance of internal links and external links and getting backlinks from other people until really diving into SEO and what Google looks for in searches. So now I have gone back through all of my old blog posts and added like a little footer of like, if you liked this post, you would like this one
Yep.
too. And having those internal links, and I've seen a lot more engagement and a lot more views on those posts that I linked to that were similar. It wasn't like you like this engagement session, you'd probably like this blog about me learning how to cook ramen. But yeah, no, I think those are really great and something that people can do right now, because the odds are you probably have some old blogs that need some loving, some updated photos. I recently did that with one of my highest performing blogs, still get like thousands of people every month reading it, and the photos were from like 2019. I was like, this does not represent my work the best that it is right now. I need to update this. And that's great that Google likes that and looks for updated work and all that too, because it's fresh, but like you said, has that oh, I don't remember the word you used, but like that it's been around a while, so that authenticity, like Google knows that it's good because it's been
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
you're feeling stressed about creating new blogs consistently, this is a great place to start of updating your old content. It's like basically on the same level of creating a new blog in terms of Google, because you're, like I said before, like updating something that
Mhm.
people probably don't really care about if it's too old, and you're making it relevant again. So if you're stressed about creating an entire new blog, see what you already have, see if you can update it to make it more relevant. And that's a great place to start with blog content.
Okay. Awesome. I love it. Before we wrap up, are there any last pieces of advice or anything you want to give for the people?
I would say, I mean, going back to what we talked about with the CEO days, like that has made such a difference in my business and
Yeah.
my like staying consistent with my content creation. Like I know you're busy. I'm busy too. I have a full-time job on top of my business and managing clients. So I totally get that this feels like impossible. But if you just put it in your calendar, commit to it. Maybe it's half a day. Even if it's just half a day, a CEO day, like just make the time to work on your business and create content and plan for it. That will make such a big difference in your marketing and getting new leads and just keeping your business healthy. So that's my number one tip. And then if you feel like you're a little bit disorganized with your content creation, your planning, your ideation, all of that, I do have a free template to help you get started with the blog side of it. You could even clone it and do it for social media or emails or whatever. But it kind of just helps you put all of your ideas in one place. And so you can go back to it, actually schedule it out, write the content, all of that. So I'm assuming that can be in the show notes.
Oh yeah, yeah. I will definitely put that in there. That's great.
Yeah. So I hope that helps you guys. And yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, yeah. I love this. Like it's given me a lot of really good ideas and a lot of things that I'm like, okay, I really do need to implement this. I do need to go update these old blogs. I do need to like schedule time uh to like create ideas instead of just like I need to write a blog this week. What am I going to do? But
Yeah.
like having those ideas to take from. So yeah, thank you so much. This has been great. Before we wrap up, and let people know where they can follow you and everything, there is part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week, and it can be literally anything: book, TV show, movie, whatever. What are you loving this week?
I've gotten really into audiobooks. So I listen to them like while I'm driving or on walks or whatever. So
Yeah,
I'm really into that right now. I finished a book in like 2 days because I was doing so much driving. And I'm like, this is great. Just
yeah,
listen to a whole book. And my favorite author for audiobooks is Frida McFadden because it's like suspenseful mystery
yeah.
books and it just keeps me so hooked. I'm like, I just want to listen to this book all day.
Nice. Oh, did you just finish her new one? Or maybe it's not a new one. It's one I added it to my Audible. Let me see. I can't remember um,
Is it The
what it is.
Housemaid?
It's not the
3?
housemaid.
I think the
It
other one is like the boyfriend, maybe.
it might be an old one now that I'm thinking about it. it
It's
was it
new to you.
was yeah, it's new to me. It was one of those that someone was like, you would love this. Like it's one of those uh like the books it was is on a TikTok where someone was like, if I could read this again for the first time, this would be amazing.
I'm deep in book talk.
Okay,
I
let's
get
see.
all of those and save all of the recommendations to my Goodreads.
One by One.
Oh,
Have you
yeah,
read
I
that
did
one?
read that one.
Okay, okay. I have not
That's a
started
good
that
one.
one yet, but yeah, I like Freedom McFadden. Very good, like suspenseful kind of thriller type, edge of your seat kind of writing,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah, she always puts some twist at the end where I'm like, there's no way I could have seen that coming. It's
Hmm.
just so
Yeah,
good.
that's my favorite. That's
Yeah.
I love that, especially with books where I'm just like, I now I need to reread this, knowing what I
Yeah.
know now, and see the
Right.
little like Easter eggs that were in there the whole time, kind of pointing this direction. So okay, awesome. Yeah, I've slowly, I don't know, I listen to so many podcasts, and I try and keep up with all of them. And lately, I'm like, I don't need to keep up with all of these podcasts. I want to, like go through my Audible archives of all these books that I have purchased, and they're just sitting there. So yeah, I need to start doing that more, especially with like the car pickup line for the kids, where I'm
Yeah,
just sitting there
right.
forever. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, okay, I love that. Let's see what I'm loving this week. I am loving. Um, a show that I found recently. I forgot that we were paying for Apple TV Plus. So the other day I was like, oh, yeah, I should go see what's on there. And there's a show, it's in its third season now, but I just started it at the beginning, called Truth Be Known, I think. Yeah, Truth Be Known. Um, it stars Octavia Spencer, and she is a podcaster. So immediately I was like, cool, I like this. But she is like a true crime podcaster. She wrote articles like 20 years ago, kind of profiling this kid who was accused of murdering his neighbor's dad, and like this whole thing. And her articles were a big reason why he was found guilty. And then new evidence comes out that she is now like second guessing and like uh re uh like going over everything again. So she's like in real time going through on the podcast new evidence and interviewing people, and it's really interesting. Aaron Paul, who is from Breaking Bad, plays the grown-up version of the 16-year-old guy who's been in prison for 20 years. And like it's very interesting. It's like a kind of thriller drama, kind of very true crime podcasty. It's fun. But yeah, Truth Be Known, I believe is what it is, or Truth Be Something. I think it's known, but yeah, it's very good. I'm like only a few episodes in, and I am looking forward to the next 3 seasons.
That sounds awesome. I might have to sign up for Apple TV Plus trial or something.
Yeah,
Binge it in a few days.
yeah. I think their trial is like a whole month or something.
Oh, perfect. I can get
Which
through it in a
is
month.
which is why I was like, oh yeah, it renewed. I should probably
Oh, shoot.
go check out something. But yeah, well, cool. Well, Eden, thanks so much. This has been really fun, very informative, with creating all the content and scheduling and all of that. Where can people find you? Where can they connect? I'm sure you have other free resources and paid resources and stuff that they can check out once they get that freebie that we have linked in the show notes.
Yeah. My website is mavenmadecopy.com. So you can find all my services, all my blogs there. And then I'm also on Instagram, the same handle, Maven Made Copy. So I'd love to chat with you if you want to come in my DMs and chat. I'd love that. But thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for being on the show. All right. And thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you for the next podcast. Bye, y'all.